Live, ready to go. Okay. Sorry, I had my light off there, but let's get into it. What will make men reconsider the breakup they left? How does the dumper feel? How will men realize they messed up or realize they want to come back? So, I've had some females tell me before in the live stream that sometimes this is geared too much towards men. Well, I'm a man, so sometimes it's like that, but I had a live coaching session recently, and I've had these questions pop up before. And I think these are good topics to talk about. And I think not only they're useful for some of the women, but also the men could chime in on the live stream and give me your take. If you're watching this live stream after the after it's already been aired live, please let me know in the comments some answers to these questions and what your take is, because it's really going to help the individual out, I think. Not just the individual, but some other people too. So what will make men reconsider the breakup if they left? How does the dumper feel? How will men realize they messed up and want to come back possibly? So the question of how does the dumper feel, or I don't really like the word dumper or to be dumped. I think it's quite negative, and I think it varies quite a bit person to person. We just use that as a blanket statement. With that being said, I've written some notes on this, and I'm going to get right into it. So, what is the dumper feeling? This is individually based on what happened in the relationship. I can't stress this enough, because if you go to the internet or you go to YouTube, there is some general information where someone will go, oh, well, they're feeling this or they're feeling that. And to me, it's a lot more nuance, and individual humans and individual breakups are all a little bit different or a lot different. And so for someone just to go, you know what, they all feel this way or they all feel that way, it's generalizing. And that's why you need to write your story and send it in to me or have a live coaching session and really dig through things. Only the dumper knows the full answer about how they're feeling. Now, that someone might go, well, that doesn't really help me. Here's the other side of that. You as the ex are probably the best predictor of this, but still can't be sure, especially if you've been together for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. If you've been together over 4 years, you know the personality and the character of your ex really well. And so you probably know, and you want to be reassured, but you probably know better than any of your friends or family members or outside people probably what they're feeling. But the only thing you can go on is what they tell you at the point of the breakup. So if they tell you at the point of the breakup, I've been really jealous of your achievements and accomplishments, well, you got to give them the benefit of the doubt that they're actually telling you the truth and they're actually telling you what's wrong. But what I will say about what the dumper is feeling is it will change moment to moment. So that means that in a breakup, there's a lot of emotions that are hot and heavy. There's a lot of exchanges of words and feelings and ideas, and we can make it work. We could do this. But 2 days later, 3 days later, when that person's lonely or they're thinking about you or a song comes on or you guys used to eat dinner at this certain place, they're going to be thinking about you. They're going to be rethinking their decision. It doesn't mean they necessarily call you, but every moment that you have as a human being with other individuals, whether that's your family or friends or at work, it's a moment. Nothing's in cement. Nothing is eternal. There are some people out there that are very much like this and they're the same all the time. But for the most part, 2 days, 1 week, 3 weeks, 4 weeks down the road, they can change their mind. They can change their feelings and they could call you up. But in the time that you're not talking to them, if you had a good relationship, and everyone will classify what's good differently. If you had a good relationship, they will be thinking about you. If the relationship is good, they will absolutely have moments of missing you and regret it. Because and the longer the relationship was and the better the relationship was, and we could sit here and fuss about and argue about what's a good relationship and what's a bad one, because sometimes people well, we never fought. Really? Well, we only fought a few times. People tell me this a lot. And then we fought at the end. Sometimes arguments are constructive. if you're standing up for yourself. So that's not always the measurement of that. But I will say this, it is much more difficult to get over a relationship that was good to great to excellent during a majority of the relationship. And to me, the measure of that was if you could stay together 4 or 5 years or more, then it probably is a pretty good measurement that the relationship, for the most part, was pretty damn good for at least one person. That being said, some people stay in bad relationships longer than they like. If the relationship was bad or really bad, there may be no remorse. It was a long time coming. And this is more or less I've seen with people that have been married for 10, 15, 20 years. And the marriage had gotten to a point where it wasn't just monotonous, but there was some bitterness. There was some anger. There was some contempt. And because of that, the marriage, they might be married 12 years, but 4 years prior to that, the end had already started. And so when that breakup happens, people are usually surprised from around because they're like, wow, you just broke up. You don't seem that upset. I was just talking to a friend of mine that was married for 12 years, and I was thinking about this topic. I think he said 12 years, but he said when he got divorced, it was hard financially. Because he had to write some big checks, he said. But he said overall, the marriage had already ended for 4 years, and the things that were going on, it wasn't even the fights; it was just the distance between them and the lack of love and emotion. He basically didn't even like hanging out with her, and the way he felt she treated him. And so he said when he signed those papers, it was relief. Now, they both knew, and they had kids, so they stayed together for the kids and maybe the financials. They both knew it was not going in a really good place. And that's when the dumper feels different, right? They feel reinvigorated. They feel like they've just gotten out of jail. But out of a good relationship, you can sense that they're going to have moments where they miss you. And what the thing is, if someone breaks up with you, they made a decision, they made a tough decision. And they probably don't want to go back on their decision just because it's their word. And so that even if they have a moment where they miss you and want to get back together, they're going to fight that. If the relationship was monotonous, they will miss you and really could go either way. They could miss the idea of the monotony, or they could figure we could make this work by just making it more exciting. That one's a little bit different. The actions of the relationship and their reasons for breaking up will bubble up repeatedly. So even if they break up with you, they're still going to be rethinking why they did it and if it was the right thing. And that's what I mean by bubble up. And I remember when I had my bad breakup, a friend of mine was like, oh, he's like a classic friend. Oh, I wish that, I ran into her and I just want to ask her about this. Does she really think this and that? And really our breakup was more like an ultimatum that I had put on it. And it wasn't just, I didn't feel like it was just a flat, I got dumped kind of thing. It was more of a conversation where I was saying, look, you got to stop this kind of behavior or this kind of thing. And she was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And so my friend actually ran into her. I don't know, it was 2 or 3 weeks after the breakup. He said, oh, I just ran into her. I didn't even really want to know. I just saw her at this place. And I went up to her and I'm like, what's going on? What's this? And I'm like, I didn't even put him up to that. Right. But this is just a friend being a friend and wanting to, get to know what was going on. So my friend basically asked her, and she was like, yeah, Mac was being really controlling. Now, throughout the relationship, I was never controlling. In that moment, in the breakup, I was saying, look, I want you to stop going out with your friends and you're drinking too much, and you need to cut that back. So in that moment, that could be thought of as a controlling statement. That's what she was carrying. And that's how she was looking at it. And that's how she was validating the breakup to her. Now, that's all I got from that situation. Now, here's the other part of that. When I heard that back to me, I didn't buy it because I said, yeah, in the moment, but overall in the 5 years we're together, that's not true. And so if you get information, brought back to you, right? If you get information brought back to you like that, you got to ask yourself, okay, was this true or not true? Okay, what will make men reconsider the breakup if they left? So this is a specific question: what will make men reconsider the breakup if they left? Please put it in the comments below if you have an answer for this, or you have an idea for this, or if you've done something that's actually worked for you. I say this again is individually based. This is not a one size fits all. This is not a playbook, because every man's different. Every situation is different. Every relationship's different. But I wrote out a quick 7 points that I came up with. Number one, having a void not filled. So the relationship, there was something that was being offered. There was something, whether that's financial, whether that's cooking dinner every night, whether that's talking about your day after work, whether that's in the bedroom, whatever it is. And then you break up and you realize I have this huge void and appreciation for something you did, but I didn't realize it was so good. Number two, missing you more than they thought. This seems obvious. This is also part of being in no contact. It's probably the simplest thing and probably the most common. Missing you more than they thought. And, absence makes the heart grow fonder. Scarcity is attractive, as I say. Number three, feeling like they need you for something. So something came up in their life, something where you used to help them, something that you used to be there for them, and it's really bothering them, and it's starting to show your value. Number four, jealousy. They found out you went on a date. And this is ego-based, and it does work. If you want to post pictures on social media and get their attention, it does work. I think it works better for women, but I could be wrong, than it does for men, because men get a little bit more angry, I believe, if they see their ex-girlfriend. If they see their ex-girlfriend with someone, they get really upset by this, and they might not come back to you. They might get more disgusted. But that being said, it does make men reconsider the breakup they left if they are jealous and they find out you're dating someone else. They can actually, come down to your house and go, wait a minute, someone was playing with my toy like a little kid, right? Number five, you hook up and have a passionate night of fun and happiness without bringing up the past. So you meet up, you say, hey, let's just go out, let's just reconnect, let's have fun, let's hook up. And from there, you don't bring up the past. This can work sometimes. Number six, you fix a problem and they come to the conclusion based on your actions. So based on what the problem or the problems are, the easiest thing I can think of is if someone was a drug addict or an alcoholic, that's the problem. Or long distance, that's the problem. You don't say, I'm going to stop drinking. You do it for 1 month or 2 months. You don't say, I'm going to move to your city that's an 8-hour plane ride. You move there because you've been saying it for a long time. And so they don't believe you until your actions prove it. Number seven, not being pushy, being neutral and accepting towards the breakup. If you're being pushy or controlling the dynamic, this can be a turnoff for a lot of men. It's masculine. And if you can be neutral and accepting to their reasons for the breakup and not show a lot of anger towards them, this would probably help the man if he is going to reconsider the breakup. Okay. Things that don't work. I thought I'd add this. Things that don't work in your favor to help the man reconsider. Number one, friends and family telling them they fucked up. Friends and family telling them, hey, you really messed up on a good thing. This person is an adult. They've made a decision, and they're probably not going to go, oh, just because my friend or family member told me that I messed up, I'm going to do it. If anything, they're going to probably dig in deeper on their decision. Number two, you begging and pleading. Sometimes this can work, but just only when someone has a soft spot for pity, or they go, oh, now I have the upper hand in the relationship. This is where I want to be. They have a really soft spot. But overall, begging and pleading, especially for men, is highly unattractive. For women, men actually will respond a little bit more receptive to this. But overall, it's not a good look if it's repeated. If it happens, the first day or the first couple days because, you're you're worried about you're worried about the breakup and whatnot, like most people do, that's completely normal to beg and plead. You don't want to continue to do it for a week or 2 weeks off and on. Number 3, you contacting their friends and family and asking questions. Now, or trying to get them on your side. A lot of people do this. I think they have good intentions. And I think sometimes it's okay because that's your only line of communication. And sometimes the friends or family members will reach out to you. What I'm telling you on this one is not to go out of your way to dig and do detective work and get people on your side. A friend of mine had done this out of a breakup. He went to her parents' house and had a 2-hour chat with them about the situation and talking about where his ex was headed and all these things. And it did not work very well in his favor because now basically you're going to the parents. The parents are generally going to take their kin side, their family's side. And so regardless of what you say and you do, they're going to hear you out. They might even want you guys to get back together, but they're not necessarily going to be able to sway it. And your ex doesn't want to have their parents down their back because maybe their parents are already bothering them anyways about it. On top of it, you throw some more gasoline on that. Number 4, saying mean things, saying things that are really bad that you regret. Number 5, hurting them because they hurt you, seeking out ways to get revenge, seeking out ways to, again, hurt them. You have to ask yourself, what are your intentions? Number 6, being pushy. Telling them what they can and cannot do, telling them when and when they can meet you, setting rules. Number 7, going over the same problems again and again. This happens a lot. Men do it also, but just calling up your ex to go over the same thing and the same questions and the same situation can be annoying to anyone. If you want to ask some fresh, new questions or get to a point about something, men prefer to talk rationally and make a point rather than just go over emotions for 2-3 hours. All right. What will make men realize what they have lost? It's a good question, right? I think a lot of women would like to know this. Time with no contact. I know that sounds simplistic, but it's true. Number 2, getting in a new relationship that ends bad. The guy gets in a new relationship, it ends bad. The woman cheats on him. The woman leaves him. The intimacy's not good. She uses him for money. It's just a train wreck. Then he'll realize, wow, my last relationship was so much better. But that's probably too late by then. Number 3, seeing you do really well in your own life. Now, you should be doing this regardless, but if you do really, really, really well in your own life, and you move forward with your head high, you start going to the gym, anyone, man or woman, when they see this, will look back and go, that's a high value individual that even though they came out of this breakup, they came out shining, and that's attractive. And that'll make someone realize what they lost. Now, you don't want to rub that in their face. The ideal thing is they find out on their own. Number 4, having a rough time in your life where you'd usually be there for them. So what will make a man realize what they have lost? If they're going through a tough time with an illness, a family member's lost, a job's lost, this is when you really like having a partner. A man really appreciates his girlfriend or his wife. And this will be a time when they realize what they have lost when they don't have someone to lean on. Number 5, over time, they grow up. They realize when they broke up with you, it was a bad decision because they were in a bad place, or it was a bad decision because their values and their priorities were fucked up. They're a different person 2 years, 6 months, 4 years later, and they realize, wow, that was a good one. And I'll tell you what, in my own life, I've had this happen before. I've had this definitely happen before where I've had a relationship with a good girlfriend for a couple years, and the timing for me in my own life just wasn't that great. And looking back now, I'm not regretful. I don't have any pain from it, but I go, wow, that was a good one. We had a good relationship. We had a good connection. And I don't know if you realize the loss, but yeah, you realize that one could have been one we could have went a lot longer together. But timing and circumstances and where I was at personally didn't work out. So I'm back on deck. We got 12 on deck, 2 likes. Thanks for the likes. Dinesh, good morning. You're Video response is going to be up in 2 days because we do a schedule thing on YouTube now. So I don't just throw 15 different story responses up. Brand new Skinner, how you doing? Let me know if you got any questions. Rob IS on deck, ready for duty. Let me know if you got any questions. And please, Skinner and Rob, I definitely think that you guys could shed some light on these questions, especially Rob, right? Well, fuck that. Skinner's on deck too. That's not true. Not especially Rob. You guys are of equal value, right? How will men realize they messed up out of a breakup? So I think both of you, I might be wrong. I think Rob, you left because of the situation. I think Skinner, shed some light then. Bring me some light. See how they went back into the light? Skinner, shed some light. I personally feel in my own life, I've never felt like I was just dumped. Okay? Skinner is absolutely equal. Skinner might even be of higher value because he's American. I'm joking. I did leave because of the no. I know, and you can laugh about it now, right? But what do you guys think about this? Because, like I said, I haven't had a situation, but saying that, a couple of my breakups have been it's almost mutual. It's not like I dumped them or we had reasons, but I guess you could, yeah. You look at it, I just don't like that word. I think a big reason a guy may reconsider if they do it out of spite. You mean pity? Is that what you mean? Pity? Hold on, Rob. You got to tell me that story. What do you mean by spite, though? Pity? Luna Martinez from Vegas. What's up, man? What's up, Holmes? Being dumped, ghosted, and finding out weeks later is a pain. Is there such that as the dumper realizing? Well, these questions are in reverse. So this would be a female asking if they feel like they were dumped. What's another word we can use than dumped? I just don't like that word. They were left. They were broken up with. What will make the men reconsider the breakup if they left? How will men realize they messed up if they left? Right? Is there such that as the dumper realizing? I don't understand that question. Well, the short story was hooked up for about 8 years, some on and off, had some issues because she wanted to move cross country for a job, went no contact. She hooked up with some lowlife and got pregnant. That could be a movie, huh? Let go, free agent, reconsider. I think it depends on how open-minded a man is and the individual story. Is there such a thing as the dumper realizing the dumpy, the one that got away? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I would say that's that last line. What's up, Matt? How you doing, bud? I'm doing better every day, but I owe it to you. Mad respect. Mad respect. Right on, bud. I sent him a private video response yesterday, so that's what he's talking about. Is there such a thing as the dumper realizing the dumpy is the one that got away? I think that happens a lot. I'm 38 years old, there's been a few relationships, but now knowing what I know and being at the level of maturity I am at, there's been a couple girlfriends that I went, wow, I really messed up, and it's not regret, it's just learning, it's growth, and it's the only way I did learn. But there's a couple good ones that I look at. If I met them now, it would be a different scenario. I mean, if a guy dumped a girl and is just feeling negative emotions about, let's say, a fight or a certain situation in the relationship, it would make them reconsider when their head clears. Yeah, when the smoke clears. Good point, Skinner. So giving each other space, the no contact, like I mentioned, not being pushy, letting that guy sort things out in his own mind. What was the last thing I said though? I thought that was important. Over time, they grow up. That's what will make someone realize sometimes, oh, wait a minute, I missed out on that. And the thing is, what we come back to is the person that dumped you, you're never going to know exactly what they feel unless they're incredibly honest, because a lot of times they're holding some things back because they don't want to make a drama show of it, or they don't want to hurt you more. I'm outstanding, Daniel. How about yourself, bud? What do you think about this topic, Daniel? You'll shed some light on this. And it's great because we got all guys on right now. So you guys can give some perspective. If you're the one breaking up with your girlfriend or your wife, I think Matt did this actually. What would make you reconsider? What would make you reconsider getting back together with them? And there's certain points, like I said, especially long relationships. I think Matt's relationship was quite long. You know, the relationship ended years ago. And so once the breakup comes, you might have been planning on this. I remember I had a friend, this is a funny story. And he had a girlfriend. They were together 5 to 7 years, I think. And before they were together, she was promiscuous. I'll just say that. And, you know, everyone knew it, and she ran the show, and she could be mean, I'll say nicely. She could be rude, and she just ran the show with him, and it wasn't attractive. And he liked her. They had a great sex life, he said, and that's what really kept him in the game. But she drank a lot. He drank a lot. They partied a lot. And I mean, they were in their, I think it was early to mid 20s then. Yeah. So they broke up, and I'm like, wow, you finally broke up with her? What, like what happened? I remember when I went through my bad breakup, was like 4 or 5 years after his breakup. I was like, how did you do that? How did you pivot out of that so quick? Because in my head, I was like, you guys were together 6, 7 years. You lived together. You had all this. He's like, dude, he goes, I came outside, and they had lived in, I think they had lived in Tahoe or one of the ski areas. And he goes, and she was in a hot tub naked with another guy having a beer. Like, and she was just like, what's up? What's going on? And it was like a get together at the house. Like it was like a party. And he walked out, and he was like, it was ending. It was curtains there. It was dust. It was done. And I was like, wow. And he was like, but before that happened, in other words, that was the match that, threw on the dry bit of wood. Before that happened, he had already had problems with her. So when that happened, it was like, it was his cue to go. And he goes, it just was quite easy after that. He didn't have a lot of anger or anything like that, but he walked out, and it was such clarity that he saw her in that hot tub with the other. And he said they weren't hooking up or anything, but it was just the fact that she was like, what's up? What's going on? Just having her drink, and what's going on, man? Like no big deal. He said he didn't lose it. He didn't go nuts. He's just like, we're done. That's part of his character also, right? Some people's character is one when they make a decision, they're all in. And that friend of mine is one of those people that it might take him a while, but once he makes the decision, he's done. Yikes, Rob. I know that had to be tough. I was kind of worried about that with my ex when we first broke up, but I eventually stopped caring if it happened. What, her getting pregnant by another guy? Hey, Mac, how you doing? Yep, it was a semi-sudden. Then she wanted to come back, but there's no way I could accept that. Hell no. I mean, you could, but you got to be all in. That's difficult. To go through a pregnancy, and it's not yours. I think that's the kind of situation where people. But what I didn't remember about your story, Rob, is you said for 8 years you guys were off and on, so it wasn't like you were official for the full 8 years. I'm not trying to take anything away from it. And she was moving at the time, so there was a little bit of a gray area. But bottom line, once that happened, that gave you some serious clarity. I think that's the kind of situation where people claim they didn't fight for me. That's a fake breakup where they did it out of spite, in my opinion. That fucking comment comes up so often. They didn't fight for me. I hear this from women a lot, and I just don't understand if this is a Hollywood thing, because especially in all the stories I read, sometimes I'm like, What did you want him to fight for? Because it's unattractive for a guy to keep coming to your door and begging and pleading. There's certain situations, I guess, where there's some push and some pull and there's some doing some work, but this idea of fighting for the relationship, I don't like that term. And for the most part, it's highly dramatic. And what is that? That's such a broad term. What does that classify? What does that define to fight for me? The easy answer to that, I would say, if my partner goes no contact on myself. Okay. Growing up can go both ways. Either they realize the breakup was a mistake or appreciate the fact they left you. Good point, Luna. It can go both ways. Time will tell, right? This is a great Bob Marley said. What did she say when she came back, Rob? Was she forward about it? I, I hope she was, because she better be clear about it, because you don't want to be hooking up and then she's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, we've been hanging out for a week and I'm pregnant with someone else." I'd want to know right away. Men's views specifically on this will be appreciated. This sounds like a very insightful talk. I'm going to have to replay it later to go over the points in the beginning. Educational. What do you think, Judy? What's your opinion? What do you think from if a guy was to leave you, what would turn him around? Or in your life experience, what do you see? Or if you've gotten an ex back, has anyone had a situation where an ex dumped you and they got you back with some kind of strategy or tactic? That might be for another live stream. That'd be really interesting. Put it in the comments below. So she moved. I was going to go see her. She told me, was forward about it, and then I just bounced out of the situation. I've talked to her since, because she still texts me every so often. I get the vibe she wants to get back because I'm more financially set than her. I can't support that sort of behavior. Well, 6 years on, about 2 off, on and off, because, well, 6 years is long enough, but clarity is everything. It is so huge. I haven't replied to any text, though, recently. What's up, Dylan? How you doing, bud? I think it's an ego thing. They most likely won't take you back if you fight for the relationship. But I think when you accept the breakup, it goes against their true intentions. Well put, man. I think that this is really interesting, because it made me think about this twice. In a relationship I had in my early 20s, I was 19, 20. One of my first serious girlfriends. I broke up with her, but we still had this gray area where we were hooking up. And this was just me being young, going, well, I can have my cake and eat it too. I can still date other women and we can kind of see each other. And she wanted to get back together. And she told me one time, I remember, because she was more mature relationship wise at the time, looking back. I remember her telling me, she's like, look, this isn't going to last, that we're not official, but we're hanging out like we're together. And she said, you can't have your cake and eat it too. And I remember thinking in my head, like, with a sneaky smile, like, yeah, okay, whatever. Right. Because it was comfortable to me. I was like, look, we're not official. It wasn't like I was going around town hooking up with every woman that was around. But at the same time, I liked that my options were open at the age I was at. And then all of a sudden, stopped calling me so much, started going on lunch with other guys, started dropping lines like, I'm going out with this other guy. And it got real. And all of a sudden I didn't let my guard down. I didn't let it be known, but it hurt, because I just had this idea that, for the rest of the time, she'll just be by my side and she'll be wanting me back. And this is a really good position to be in. And so when she pulled that energy away and accepted the breakup and moved forward, and she didn't do anything rotten or mean to me. She didn't say any shitty things looking back. She didn't get nasty. She just moved forward. And I was like, whoa. And then that's when I did want to get back with her, and it didn't work. But I didn't beg or plead. Mac, it amazes me how many stories you remember, Mac. I got a good memory, dude. When I was young, I used to read the sports pages and collect baseball and football and basketball cards, and I can remember all the stats. If you listen to someone with intention, like I do, like I'm not checking my phone and I'm actually asking questions about the story, you can have a good memory also. Memory is like a muscle, right? Just break up stories, but stories about your friends as well. I do have a good. Well, everything's recorded in your subconscious. It's just the idea of the flow of letting it come out. I do have a lot of stories though. Excellent topic. Yeah, the fight for me thing. It reminds me of the line in the Rational Male that says you're better off learning from it, starting over, than to try to resurrect a bad long-term relationship. That's a great point, Matt. I got to read that book again. I think I've done it twice. That's a great point, Matt. Yeah, it reminds me of the line in the Rational Male that says you're better off learning from it and starting over than to try to resurrect it. I would say when you resurrect a bad long-term relationship, it can be done. If there's kids involved, if there's a house involved, if there's financials involved, if your families get along really well, then those are reasons to really try to make it work, because those are pillars that are hard to recreate in a new relationship. That being said, if the damage is deep and you're unhappy or you're unexcited or you're just then, and you've already honestly given it a try repeatedly, then I agree. And from your life experiences, Daniel, you got some stories to tell. I'm sure you do. Rob's got some stories to tell. People just don't like to share everything. But storytelling is an art. It's an art. I'll tell you this, as a teacher, sometimes the students at the end of class, they're like, yeah, okay, teach. All right. But when I get into story time, I go, let me tell you a story. They all go, okay, let's listen to this one. No, never happened to me. Never had an ex use a strategy. I'm good. How you doing, Mac? I'm excellent. This is probably just a generalization, but I think a lot of people break up because there's something they want to course out of the ex, like change behavior or have their cake and eat it too. I think that's a great point, Skinner. A lot of times in a relationship, people hint at the problem. They're passive aggressive because they don't want to hurt the other person's feelings. And then the other person kind of thinks it's not that serious, that it's not that big a problem. And so they don't address it. And then when they break up, it's like, oh shit, I didn't know you cared about that much. Right. And so if the problem can be fixed, then yeah, you're right. It gets the person's attention, the breakup does. And then that's when the breakup had to happen for you to change the behavior or fix the problem. Them deciding if they believe the problem can be fixed is another picture. And that certainly, I would say that in a long-term relationship, if you break up, getting right back together is not the answer, because it took a long time to get back together. I mean, to break up. So you probably need a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months before you redo that decision. I've never left a relationship unless I've had a rebound, and I've never came back to an ex even if the rebound didn't work. I haven't been able to rebound from this current breakup, however. But you're laughing about it, Brian. That's important, dude. You're on these live streams. You're working it out. You're getting better every day. You're hitting the gym up. You lost your weight, right, dude? You got a new job. I remember, right? B Union. But I know Rory from the live chat published a book about 2 months ago. Is it good? I saw that. It says #1 bestseller on Amazon. What does that mean? It's got a great picture on the cover too. The next batch, what I've done now, I did four stories yesterday. One will come out later on today. One will come out later on tomorrow. Hey coach, what up? I started to learn about Limerence. That's the one of the reasons why exes don't come back. There's several stages in which we and the ex are. Go ahead and share that with me. Elaborate on that one-legged pigeon. I'm interested. Limerence. I know that word. I know it's been used. Yes, sir. Good for you, bud. Very true. She would warn me of my bad habits, and the last 3 months, if I didn't fix the issues, she swore she would get tired of me and leave me. I called her bluff, and now I'm here watching this. Oh God. Well, I'm thankful for that, Luna, because I love having you on the live stream, bud. It's funny how those things happen. It's like, how did you become a breakup coach, Mac? I had some breakups that fucking hurt the fuck out of me, especially one. So I can have some compassion. So it's worked out for me in some ways, right? Um, what do I think? I guess if they miss the connection, if you have unfinished business, if they go on dates and think of you, if they realize that maybe you won't wait forever, fear of someone else scooping you up. Mm. Um, yeah, I think that you need to definitely let the smoke clear and then possibly go on a date or two and then not be pushy about getting back together and reacquaint. I know my parents were going to get a divorce when I was young for a lot of different reasons. But my parents were separated for, I don't know, we were living in an apartment for 6 or 8 months. I don't think it was a year. It was a while though. It wasn't like they just got back together, but my dad got out of a alcohol rehab and they started dating again. I remember it being a little awkward or weird, but they didn't just like, "Oh, we're gonna get back together again." It took a little bit of time. Um, Obviously, with marriage and kids and having a house, those weighed in on them trying it. But I think if it wasn't they weren't going to get back together within a month or right after. The smoke had to clear, and my dad worked on the problem, which was being an alcoholic. So that's kind of more cut and dry, I guess. I would say, people don't realize what they have till it's gone. Scarcity is attractive, and fear of someone else scooping you up is a big one for men and women, I think. X says she does try to fight for me, for the lack of a better term, because of fear it won't work. I don't know what you mean by that, Matt. Can you elaborate a little bit? Fear it doesn't I don't understand. X says she does try to fight for me, for the lack of the better for lack of a better term, because of fear it won't work. Oh, doesn't try to fight for me. She doesn't. Okay, no problem, Matt. I got it, bud. Thanks, Brian, for clarifying that. Sometimes I read so many of these things I get confused. No worries. Um, I mean, to me, if I broke up with someone and we're still, I think in Matt's situation, you guys are still kind of friends because you had a long marriage, uh, and you're willing to be that way. She knows deep down inside that you're not going to be receptive for her fighting for you because you just, if you were together for 15 years, she knows you. She knows you made that decision. She knows why. And you're not really interested and you haven't been receptive to even the little nibbles and bits of it, probably. That's another thing. When you're together a long time, you know what the other person's thinking. You know how they're feeling. You know what they're thinking. Limerence happens more in couples that have a long relationship years. The person with limerence feels infatuated with someone else. It can last up to 3 to 18 months. Once it fades, they realize they made a big mistake. Wow. Interesting. Yeah, and I'll tell you what, this will be for another topic, but emotional cheating, are you guys aware what that is? Is that similar to what limerence would be? One-legged pigeon? One-legged pigeon, aka Alejandro. Um, is it okay? So, how do you stop? This is an interesting question because let's say that's true, right? And you work at a workplace with good-looking women, or Judy Jack, you work with good-looking men. I mean, being infatuated though. I mean, I don't know if I've ever felt infatuated. I've had a couple crushes before. Um, that's such a strong word. Limerence is more like obsession or infatuated. Yeah. Um, infatuated with someone else. To me, to be infatuated too, is you're obsessed or infatuated with the idea that you can't get that person or they're a little bit above you. You're so into them. It certainly wouldn't be. It's funny because I'm thinking about it right now. I had one client. He was in New York. He's an Indian guy. He's like 20, 21, and he was a cool dude and stuff. And he would literally, when he would like a woman, he would be infatuated, and I'm like, you're infatuated right now. That's the only time I use that word. You're so obsessed with getting her back. It's unattractive. You want it so bad. It's offsetting. So the fact that even if someone feels infatuated with someone else, um, they probably aren't going to get that person. Someone else, though, that has to happen a lot. It's like emotional cheating, where how do you control that? I mean, how can you control infatuation or the idea of a colleague or someone someone you see at a restaurant regularly, or someone that you're really into, and you like, but you're in another relationship? Can you just turn that off? I don't know. I don't know. That's an interesting question. It'll definitely affect your relationship until you do cheat. I do not consider it cheating if you like someone else, though. I don't Emotional cheating, I think, is pretty hard to avoid. But tell me I'm wrong. Like, would you feel guilty if you found someone else attractive that you worked with, and maybe from time to time you thought of them in a different light? Emotional cheating happens at work often. I mean, but I mean, can you stop that? It's like, I can't imagine someone going to their ex, or I mean their girlfriend, or going to their boyfriend. I know you're emotionally cheating on me. I know it. You've been thinking about Susie at work uh, in the afternoon when you're whacking off. What? It's like, where would this even come from? How would you even dial in on someone like that, you know? I saw the way you looked at her. Yeah, she's good looking. She's a real sweetheart, you know? Yeah, but the way you were looking at her, really? Got me. But I mean, could you stop it? Can you control emotional? That would be my question. I mean, and what would be the variance? And then someone was telling me this recently, and they were like, I would admit to my wife or my girlfriend that I was emotionally cheating. I'm like, I don't think that'd be a good idea. How are you going to explain that? And then they're going to be insecure that you like someone else. It happened to me many times. I would flirt with coworkers who doesn't like the attention. Am I right? But yes, I'd feel guilty if I went past the mental boundary. You guys want to know a fact? Sure, everyone likes facts, dude. Good question. I think you'd have to just be secure in your Yeah. And I mean, my parents have been married 45 years. My dad used to look at women all the time. He'd never cross the line or go out there and, hey, what's your name or this or that. But he would do this, one of those. I think most crushes develop because we put people on pedestals and create narratives about who we think they are. That's a good point. And then there's just an interesting thing is, as you get older, as I get older, is you associate the look of someone with someone you knew in your past, and that makes them more attractive if that person was attractive to you before. It's just like if you have a new friend, and this could just be for a friend, and that friend reminds you of someone that you used to go to school with, you're gonna like them more. Um, but having like a huge like when you have a crush and you're infatuated or something like that, that's something that happens in grade school. Coffee shops like Starbucks and Coffee Bean, Tea Leaf, the coworkers become super friendly. Yeah, I worked retail jobs when I was 16, 17. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. That's where a lot of flirting goes down. I know by my own experiences, if then with the regulars. It's not a fact. More like an opinion. Yeah, it's more of an opinion, but yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You're not going to be infatuated if you're working with all dudes, right? Um, well, yes, you're right. Limerence only happens once in a lifetime. What do you mean once in a lifetime? As far as being infatuated, I'm just coming from my own point of view that I don't know if I've been completely infatuated with a woman. It's a good question. How does the dumper feel? Well, let's just say I wanted to fucking die when I left my because you were the one that did it. Yeah. When I left my ex, all the other stuff happened till and got me to wish I had someone to talk to about. When you said only happens when you're really young. I mean, people are different. Like I said, this guy I talked to in New York, though, he was about 2021. Um, I suppose people could be different, though. There's someone that I just did a story for recently that had a coworker, and the guy's in his 50s, and he's got a crush. Yeah, he's got a crush on a coworker for like a year and a half. I think the story's going to come out pretty soon. Um, basically today, I think. Uh, I think it is. It's scheduled to drop. And he's been taking her out to lunch and doing different things, but she doesn't really like him. And he's been following her around a bit. It's not working out. Maybe an emotional affair can be a wake up call that your LTR isn't healthy. But still, can you put on blinders? Can you put on blinders to someone that you work with daily that you like? I don't know. I'm just speaking from experience because I've had situations where I've definitely been in the workplaces, had a girlfriend and been flirtatious, outgoing, friendly, but didn't cross the line. I think crossing the line is when you actually hook up, you went and slept together, but being playful and fun in a work atmosphere and making, cute comments here and there or something like that. And then you go tell your partner like, yeah, I've been flirting with someone at work. Setting up a booby trap for yourself. What's up, Black Widow? How you doing? Let me know if you got any questions or perspective on this one. We're talking about, just for a quick review because everyone's on deck. I'll go through this. What is the dumper feeling? I said this is individually based on what is happening in the relationship. Only the dumper knows the full answer. You as the ex are probably the best predictor of this, but still can't be sure. What will make men reconsider the breakup if they left? This again is individually based. There's no rules to this, but I would say number one, having a void not filled. Number two, missing you more than they thought, feeling like they need you for something. 4, jealousy. They found out that you went on a date. 6, you fix the problem and they come to that conclusion based on your actions. Not being pushy, neutral, and accepting wins the day. Things that don't work. Friends and family telling them they fucked up. So a lot of times their friends were telling them that, how much they messed up. That's not going to get them to change their decision. If anything, most people are stubborn when they're adults. Number 2, you begging and pleading. Number 3, especially begging and pleading in the first few days is fine. Doing it over a long period of time is hurtful to getting back together. You contacting their friends and family to ask questions, do detective work, or push their friends and families to get you guys back together. Things that don't work, saying mean things, literally. Things that don't work, hurting them because they hurt you. You want revenge. Number 6, being pushy about the breakup, telling them what they can and cannot do, and when there's deadlines and different things like that. Number 7, going over the same problems again and again. What will make men realize what they have lost? Black Widow might like this one. What will make men realize what they have lost after the breakup? Time with no contact. When you completely shut off contact, that's when it gets real quick. Scarcity is attractive. Getting a new relationship that ends bad. This is a big one. Man gets into a new relationship. It's rose petals and wine glasses. 6 months later, the woman steals a bunch of money from him, or she cheats on him, and the past relationship would have never done that. It's clarity for him, and he's probably going to go back and go, wow, the last girlfriend I had was so much better. Number 3, seeing you do really well in your life will make a man realize that he's lost, or realize what he lost, that you're able to move forward with your head high, handle a job, do well for yourself. That's attractive. Number 4, having a rough time in your life where you'd usually be there for them. So what will make a man realize what they have lost? He has an illness, a relative has an illness, he lost his job, shit that happens in life that's really bad. These are times when you really appreciate having a partner that's by your side, and this is when they'll realize that. And number 5, over time, they grow up. They change their values. They realize that the grass isn't always greener. Okay. Yes, you are right. Limerence only happens maybe emotional fair. Dylan, how does that dumper feel? When you said only happens when you're really young. Gotcha, bud. Hey, Mac. Hey, howdy. That's funny. I remember my old LDR, long distance relationship guy, used to use the term and refer to past tense, our infatuation phase. I remember I had liked hearing that because R meant mutual. Well, we could call it the honeymoon phase also. Red-haired leader did have a crush on other girls, but they turned bitchy. Okay. Got it, Dylan. If women are happy in their relationship, they'll put their own blinders on. Men will too, probably. Interestingly enough, in relationships, we all have things that we hold to a higher degree than maybe our partners do. Something that's highly important to us in a partner might not be as highly important to them, and it bugs people in relationships. All true. My ex, who I dumped, contacted me today and yesterday, utterly annoyed. You're utterly annoyed, or he is? He said I look good and asked if I had cut my hair. Today and yesterday, utterly annoyed. I said no, and then I said nothing. Yes, no contact scares the fuck out of people. Exactly. How will women realize they lost someone who was perfect for them? So, whenever you use the word perfect, what is perfect? The definition of perfect to you is different than what perfect is to me. Now, the idea that this woman lost you and you were perfect for hers, I'm glad you got a lot of confidence. I'll just say that. But obviously, she doesn't agree. So the idea that what's happening is this is called confirmation bias, where you're coming up with things and reasons to support your argument, but that doesn't mean she agrees, because at the end of the day, that's just your opinion as an individual. And what people pay me for or to talk to me is to get a second opinion from someone that's objective, non-biased, and honest, and has a little bit of experience. Well, a little bit more than a little bit. Hiendo, yep. I'm happy to help you. Happy to help you. Let me know if you have any further questions. So we went over this topic and these questions. If you just came on, you can go back to the start of it and look over it. I just repeated the question, so I won't repeat them again. But let me know if you have some questions in the live chat right now. A, number 1 is perfect. B, there had to be something that was lacking, I think. Okay. Brian Union. More like a lot of experience. Yeah, I have a lot of experience, actually. Hey, Brian. I'm in a sleazy bar right now. Nico. I'm in a sleazy bar right now. I could get trashy if I wanted, but I don't like the cigarette stink. Ooh. Have you guys had a kiss where someone smokes cigarettes? Ugh. Yeah, it is nasty, isn't it? It is nasty. I missed most of the love chat, the live stream. Love chat's a different channel. How can a man put his ego aside to say, I'm sorry, I messed up, or I fucked up? I feel like my ex won't be that kind of guy. He will accept it and doesn't want to hurt me again. Well, we can share this. I don't know why this. Nico, I like I like what you share, but I don't know if I can always put it on the chat. Nico, you're a character, dude. I really enjoyed the fact that you were cool with the response on your story, because you divulged a lot, dude. You're a strong dude, though, because you're gonna be all right. You're going to be all right for sure, Nico. In the Berg. All right, let me get to this. I missed most of the love chat or this live stream. How can a man put his ego aside to say, "I'm sorry, I fucked up"? Well, first of all, he has to feel like he fucked up. That's number one. That's number one. Does he honestly feel like he fucked up? Um, Secondly, I feel like my ex won't be that kind of guy. Well, if you feel like you know him better than I do, now he will accept it and doesn't want to hurt me again. But the bottom line is, does he want to really get back together? The idea that you're assuming that he feels that he fucked up is what's going to twist and turn you, right? Because this is what happens a lot of times, and this isn't a bad thing, Ian. And I've seen this before. Individuals that have a lot of confidence and feel like, because there's some people like, oh my God, I'm such a bad catch. And I know why my ex left me, because I'm fat or because I'm jobless or because I'm this. But when none of those things are up and you're like, wow, we had a really good relationship and I'm a really good catch, you're like, what the hell? They're gonna have to come back. But you're missing something. You're missing something in there by assuming that they don't feel like they it's possible that he doesn't feel like he fucked up. It's possible that he was really unhappy. And so I feel like my ex won't be that kind of guy. If he's not that kind of guy to step up and accept it and say he fucked up, well, then he's the type of person that is probably not going to be the best long-term relationship for you, because if he can't step up in this moment, if he can't step up and tell you, hey, I want to get back together, I don't want to lose a good thing, and that's what his heart really wants, well, then he's not going to be a very good partner moving forward long term. But on the flip side, it is completely possible that he doesn't believe he fucked up and he's not happy in the relationship and he doesn't want to revisit things right now. And he's not just being um, to prevent the second breakup. That's so true. String fired and not having my ex to lean on like she did once in the past damaged me badly. I can forget, but I can forgive her for not being there. I can forget, but can't forgive. I would rather forgive and not forget if I were you. It's more detrimental to not forgive. It's not good for your soul. And I'm not saying you have to do that now, but at some point it's best for you. I met someone who broke up with his ex after 7 years, 2 kids, because he said he wants to experience more and it's nothing wrong with the relationship. You know, when people in their late 20s, mid 20s, early 30s, sometimes 7 years, someone just goes, I've done everything, we've done everything, and they feel like it's monotonous, or they just got a calling, or they've always wanted to travel. Here's a big one for you, Hien. Your morals and values and what's really, really important to you, you automatically assume it lines up with the other person. But the reality is, your partner might be going, oh, all I want to do is just travel the world for 2 years, but I'll never be able to do it in this relationship. That's just an example. My partner's biggest hope is to get married and have 3 kids and pay off the mortgage. And all I can think of is living downtown in the city and having a more laid back job where I don't make that much money, but I have more free time. There's people like that, and you automatically assume, what the fuck's your problem? Why wouldn't you want to have kids, get married, and have a mortgage? This is what everyone does. And so the problem here is that when you break up, if they don't convey all that to you or tell you exactly, you're kind of lost, because you're thinking, what did I miss here? And in your situation, I think that's a lot of what it is, because it was surprising to you because the things in the relationship that were going really well and that you really liked, they were high value things for you. But unfortunately, I believe that some of these things that were very high value to you weren't as high value to the other person. And so let's break this down a little bit. I got a pen mark on my hand. You you're in a relationship, and I think like Judy Jack can speak on this, Black Widow can speak on this, Rico can speak on this. People assume that their values and their morals and things that they really think are important, other people line up exactly with them, and it's just not the case. It's just not the case, right? You'll meet someone and they'll go, all they've ever wanted in their life is to own a home in San Francisco. I have friends that live in the Bay Area. It's really expensive, and that's their biggest goal. So what happens after they get that goal? Because that's attainable. And then their partner goes, "Oh, I actually don't like living in the city because it's too busy and there's too much traffic and it's dangerous." And the other person's like, "This is what we always hope for and we always wanted." And it's like, "No, this is what you wanted." But that being said, if that individual never divulged that or told you that, how would you know? Right? How would you know that? And so that's when it gets really hard. And we just assume, we just do it all the time, that the other person, what the hell's their problem? Right? Because sorry, I just checked down this thing. What the hell's their problem? Because our relationship's outstanding. Everything's going great. Well, it's going good for you because these are things that are really important to you. There was an individual that I had a live coaching session with years back, or a year and a half back. And he had a lot of trouble with the fact that he was pretty rich. Well, he was rich. I think he was a personal trainer in his free time. So he had a good body, I guess. A lot of confidence, was in a really good place in his life. Everything, all the boxes were checked. And when the girl broke up with him, the woman broke up with him, he was shocked. Like, she broke up with me? Like, really? I'm a fucking catch. And he had a lot of trouble with it. And I was like, well, and she had told him some reasons. She said that, that she didn't like that he smoked. She didn't like this. She didn't like that. And he just overlooked all these things that she told him she didn't like. And he was like, I still don't get it. Well, the fact that you have a lot of money, the fact that, you got a good body and you got good habits with exercise. And he's a good dude too. He wasn't an asshole or anything. He just couldn't line it up. And it just slammed his ego. But the reality was, there were some things about him that really bothered her. And I told him, wouldn't you rather know than continue on in the relationship out of pity or have her be unhappy? And then, a few years down the road, she just erupts on you later on. You'd rather know now. He has to admit he's wrong. An individual has to admit they're wrong, but they have to believe they're wrong for it to be sincere. By women putting their own blinders on, what I meant is, if they're happy, especially emotionally, they don't look elsewhere. Brad Pitt could be in the room and not match up to her guy. That's absolutely true. I agree. I've been in relationships like that, where there was points in the relationship where I absolutely felt that way. And that's a really nice feeling. It's a highly secure feeling that you just know that your relationship's so good and your partner's so into you, invested or in love, that you can go to a public place and they're not even going to, they might say, and that comes down to security. If Brad Pitt walks in and your girlfriend goes, "Oh my God, Brad Pitt's so good looking," or whatever, hey, that's fine, because deep down she's into you. If I went for a walk around the school, I kept thinking I should go past the library where we used to hang out and run out. Dylan, you're hanging on to one relationship for quite a long time, huh, bud? Smiling Shutter. Remember me? I bought that course. I told you about Shogun Method. Yeah, please share it with us. How did it go? How did that go, that that Shogun Method? If anyone is super desperate for go to drug recovery meeting at a church or whatever and say you've been 7 years sober, just fake it like Fight Club and you will be. Nico, come on, man. Oh, man. Kind of quiet there, Brian. For an ex to ask for forgiveness and apologize, he or she needs to forgive themselves first. A lot of people don't show it. Pride, ego get in the way. If I did something wrong or made my partner feel some type of way, I own up to it. But not everyone is built that way. Exactly. And if they're not built that way, do you want to be with them? Good question, right? You're not going to make them be that way. I visited a dope head friend of mine in a group rehab and was practically swatting off these damaged women. They're looking for a guy that is not a junkie. Well, that's a good way to up your value in the room. They're trying to get sober, but replace their hedonist desires with, wow. Well, at least you visited your friend. I hope you supported him. It wouldn't be my approach out of a breakup, that's for sure. Put myself in that situation. Unbelievable. How did that course go, Smiling Shutter? If you want to share. We're up to an hour and 10 minutes. Thanks for the likes, folks. I appreciate it. For an ex to ask me for forgiveness and apologize, he or she needs to forgive themselves first. Well, I mean, it's congruent for both of you to do it at the same time or within the thing. Ownership, a lot of people don't show it. Pride, ego. Okay, I read that already. Any questions? Any closing questions here? We got an hour and 11 minutes. I was almost 111. Haven't seen Mary in a while. Hope she's well. This was an interesting topic. This was good today. I like it. I like it a lot. Really, really, really good. Any other questions, folks? No? This is usually about the time someone goes, beep, one more question. No? It's about to be noon right now. I'm going to get some lunch. Hey, Luna. Hey. Always good, macaroni. Sister used to call me that. My sister, there used to be a Bobby Brown song. You'll know this, Black Widow, because you're about my age, called Roni. Back in the day, my sister used to have that. She used to call me Roni. Macaroni. You know that song? I knew you knew because we're the same age, right? My sister used to think that was hilarious. And she used to play the song Roni. There's sleazy bars everywhere in the world. Obviously, for someone to come back, attraction in one form or another must have to increase. Great point, Judy Jack. That's simplifying it. Oh my God, you brung it back. And that's what's nice because I remember we're the same. I think you're 38, right? And an Aquarius, if I remember correctly. Very true. I met an amazing girl who was super fit and looked amazing. Long story short, we hooked up and she had one flaw that was critical. What was that? People aren't perfect, but there's certain things that you can't get past, right? Wow, Nico. She was terrible at making out. Oh my goodness. She kept her mouth open, shoved her tongue into my esophagus. No bueno. One flaw that was critical. Well, she was aggressive with you. That's for sure. All right, folks. I think this is going to be curtains today. I'm getting a little bit hungry. It was nice to touch base like it always is in the live streams. Wish you all well.